Here's what I batch cooked over a weekend to help my week run smoothly and stick to my £50 to £70 a week food budget. Hi, I'm Tani and welcome back to my channel, Tani's Batch Cooking. In today's video, I'm back in the kitchen doing another big batch baking session. I made 2 loaves of bread, a batch of rolls, a load of freezer cookies, as well as a couple of pumpkin loaves, and a big batch of meatballs to cook from frozen to use up some lurking beef mince. I try to keep to a weekly food budget of around £50 to £70, and I find cooking from scratch really helps. I'll walk you through exactly how I made them and how I store them, and this really helps to save money on my weekly budget. So I spent £65.83 on this week's food shop, which I got from Lidl, and this is for a family of 4. So I got a few ingredients for baking, some more caster sugar, some more self-raising flour, a tub of baking spread. I also got a few bars of their Simply Milk chocolate, which is 59p for 100 grams. A lot cheaper than their 100-gram bags of chocolate chips, which were over £1. So I'll just be cutting those up and using that as chocolate chips instead. Some maple syrup because my daughter wants me to make some blondies soon. It was also still the summer holidays when I did this shop, so there are a few more ready-made treats than I would normally get. Tuna for sandwiches and jagged potatoes, spaghetti, bagels. The donuts were requested in the supermarket by my kids and opened on the way home. Some salami for sandwiches. I also got pepperoni and some bacon to go on pizzas. Some chicken, which I'll use for slow cooker meals. Some sausages for another dinner. Some fruit. A few different types of cheese. I used the cheddar and mozzarella on the pizzas. Some salad. I also got a couple of bags of kale for our guinea pigs. I do find Lidl to be the best value supermarket near me, but as they don't deliver, I do tend to use Asda or Sainsbury's more. I try to go food shopping or get a delivery on a Friday so that I've got everything I need to do a batch cooking session over the weekend. So for this week's batch cooking session, I split it up over 2 days. On the first day, I didn't have as much time, so I made 2 things, meatballs and cookies, which were both made raw and then frozen. The recipe for these meatballs is on my Substack, but basically what I do is use a pack of beef mince or beef and pork mince. That goes into a bowl and gets loosened up with a fork, and then into that I add some breadcrumbs. I like to store breadcrumbs in the freezer, so what I do is if I get some stale bread, I just bung a load in the oven, whiz it up in my food processor, and then store that in the freezer and then use it from frozen in my baking or cooking. That way my old bread doesn't go to waste and I've always got breadcrumbs ready to use when I need them. Into the breadcrumbs and beef mince goes some freshly ground black pepper, followed by half a teaspoon of salt. This is just a standard size pack of mince, by the way. I think it's 450 or 500 grams. Then I like to add some seasoning. So this depends what I've got. I'll either use smoked paprika or barbecue seasoning or something similar. So I put a teaspoon of that in there. And about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce as well. And finally, I add in an egg, which helps to bind the mince all together in the meatballs. I mix that all up thoroughly until it's completely combined and then start moulding it into the meatballs. If I'm really trying to stock up my freezer, I like to make a batch of meatballs and burgers at the same time, as a lot of the ingredients are very similar. I use 2 separate bowls and make sure I wash my hands in between, but it saves getting everything out twice and it's quicker if you're weighing everything out into 2 bowls at the same time. I have got a post on my Substack about making burgers and meatballs at the same time. If you want to go and have a look at it, I'll leave it linked in the description below. Yeah, so then I just shape them into meatballs and put them onto a baking parchment covered baking tray. But you need to make sure that the baking tray will fit into your freezer. The meatballs then get open frozen, which is when you put them open on a tray into the freezer. And after a few hours, once they're frozen solid, you then take them off the tray and put them into a freezer bag. That way they hold their shape and they don't all get stuck together. These meatballs can then be cooked straight from frozen. I just preheat the oven to about 180 degrees fan, Put them onto a baking tray and cook them for about 25-30 minutes. I normally serve them with spaghetti sauce and spaghetti or pasta. The sauce is super simple as my children don't like lumps, so I just use passata or some whizzed up chopped tomatoes depending on what I've got, with a bit of garlic, some basil or oregano, salt and pepper. I don't add onions because they don't like the bits, but you could add onions if you're not too fussy. Salt, pepper, and a tiny little bit of sugar as well. You can freeze the sauce as well, so that makes a really easy weeknight meal. Next up, we have the chocolate chip cookies. I'm making a double batch of this, so I'm cutting up 200 grams of chocolate. I've just put the recipe for this up on my Substack if you would like it. So after I've chopped up the chocolate, then I weigh out my sugar. For a single batch, this would be 100 grams of soft white brown sugar and 100 grams of caster sugar. Into that goes 125 grams of unsalted butter. Make sure you get the butter out of the fridge an hour or so before so that it's easier to mix up. I like to use a handheld whisk for this. Once the butter and sugar is combined, then weigh out 275 grams of self-raising flour. Add 1 egg for a single batch into your butter-sugar mixture, followed by a few tablespoons of flour, and then mix that up together as well. The flour just stops the egg from curdling in the butter and sugar. So I've added 2 eggs because I was making a double batch. Then you need to add a pinch of salt. Don't forget this. I've forgotten to add the salt sometimes, and then it makes them really kind of bland. Also, you need quite a lot of vanilla in this recipe, maybe 1.5 teaspoons for a single batch. Add your flour into your mixture. You can do this gradually so that it combines more easily. And then finally add your chocolate chips and mix that all together until it's thoroughly combined. After that, you need to roll your cookies into balls. This depends on what size cookie you'd like. So I tend to do, I don't know what size this is, like a tablespoon. And again, these need to be open frozen. They take about 3 hours to freeze. But you can leave them in for longer. I left them in overnight. If you don't want to freeze them, you do need to chill them before you bake them for about a couple of hours. Once they're frozen solid, again, I put them into a sandwich bag. Then we pull out smaller batches from the bag for when we want to have freshly baked cookies. To cook them from frozen, you want the oven at about 180 degrees fan, and they go in for 12 to 40 minutes. If you want to cook them from chilled, you'll need the oven at about 170 degrees fan for 10 to 12 minutes. That's if you like a nice chewy soft cookie. If you want it to be a little bit crispier, then leave it in for a couple of minutes longer. This is a great basic cookie recipe, and it works really well with extras as well, like Smarties or nuts. So now we've moved on to the second day of the batch cook, and the first thing I like to do on a big batch cooking day in the morning is start off my dough for the day. On this day, I made a triple batch of white bread dough, which was enough for 2 large loaves and 4 large rolls. I also made a batch of pizza dough, which I'll show in a separate video. So I like to get my bread doughs done first because although it's easy to make, it does take a bit of time for the dough to rise. This is just a basic white bread recipe. For a single loaf, the quantities are 600 grams of strong white bread flour, 4 teaspoons of caster sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of fast action dried yeast, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. To that, you need to add 390 ml of water. I then mix that together a bit with a spoon until it's mostly combined. Then I'll use the dough hook on my stand mixer to knead the dough. I use this on speed 1 or 2 on my K-Mix, and I leave that for 7 to 9 minutes. I used to use a bread maker because I didn't want to be doing kneading by hand all the time, but when that broke, I decided to just try it with my stand mixer, and it's just as easy. When that's finished kneading, the dough should be kind of like elasticy like this. I scrape that off of the hook and put it into an oiled bowl, which I then also cover with an oiled piece of cling film. I'll leave that on the side to rise until it's roughly doubled in size. The time this takes varies depending on the temperature and the humidity and all sorts of things. I'd say roughly 2.5 to 3 hours. While that's rising, I get on with the rest of what I'm batch cooking that day. After I'd made this bread dough, I made my pizza dough for the day and started on my baking as well. When the dough's doubled in size, I punch that down and then tip the dough out onto a floured surface for shaping. And as I'm just making this bread for my family, I always say it doesn't have to be perfect. I very roughly shape it into a somewhat loaf leg shape and put the dough into oiled loaf pans. These pans are 2-pound size loaf tins, and I think they're just from the supermarket. I also shaped this dough into 4 large rolls, which went into a separate baking tray. These then need to be covered again with the oiled cling film and left for their second proof. This takes less time than the first proof, about 30 minutes to an hour. I just look and see what size they are and think, is that the size I want my bread to be? And then put it in the oven. To bake it, I put the oven at 200 degrees fan, and the bread loaves go in for 40 minutes and the rolls take 25 to 30 minutes. Once they're cooked, I try to take them out of the tins as soon as possible because otherwise they tend to sweat if you leave them in there. I like to store one bread loaf in this bread bin for us to eat fresh. This is from Tupperware and I think they've gone bust, so you can't get it very easily anymore, but I'll put a link to one on Amazon. You might be able to find it cheaper somewhere else. And then I cut up another loaf and put that into freezer bags. So when we finish the fresh loaf, we can use the sliced loaf in the freezer to have as toast. And the bread rolls went into another bread bin for us to have as lunches over the next couple of days. And there's some of the pizza dough I made as well. And the final thing I made on this batch cook was a couple of pumpkin loaves. I had some pumpkin puree in our freezer for quite a while from when we used to have an allotment. So when I made the cookies the day before, I took the pumpkin puree out, ready to defrost for the pumpkin loaves. As this was from a homegrown pumpkin, I couldn't use exact amounts in recipes as I didn't know how much I would have. So I found a basic recipe on, I think, BBC Good Food and then adapted it for the amounts I had. I think I ended up with about 460 grams of pumpkin puree, which is a bit more than 2 cans of pumpkin if you wanted to buy some. I'll be adding my version of this pumpkin loaf recipe to my Substack soon, so sign up to my newsletter if you want to get that. Basically, I creamed together some baking spread and some caster sugar, then added in my pumpkin puree. Then I weighed out self-raising flour. This recipe did use a lot of eggs. I think it was 6, but again, I made a double batch. So with each egg addition, I add a few tablespoons of flour so that it mixes in more easily. After all the eggs are combined, I then add my spices into my flour. So for this, I used ground mixed spice, ground ginger, ground cinnamon, and nutmeg. To me, this is what really makes it a pumpkin loaf. The flour and spice mixture then gets mixed into the batter. I also added half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda to the dry mix before I mixed it in. Oh, and a pinch of salt. Then that goes into the 2 greased loaf pans. Again, these are the 2-pound size loaf tins. And they went in the oven at about 170 degrees fan for around an hour. And again, with these, I put one of them fresh into the tin for us to eat in slices. And I also sliced one up and put it into a freezer bag in the freezer. I put a little bit of baking parchment in between each slice so that it wouldn't stick together. And then I can pull out slices as I want to and toast them from frozen to have with butter for breakfasts and things like that. As I say, this pumpkin had been in my freezer for a while, but I thought that the beginning of September was a perfect time to make a pumpkin loaf ready for autumn. Autumn's my favourite season. I love all pumpkin things, including this plate that my husband got me from Primark. And making my own pumpkin spice treats is a lot cheaper than buying them. My husband also takes some for his lunch for work as well, so it saves him buying lunch out. So I'd say over the 2 days, I spent about 4.5 hours on this batch cooking session. I made 2 loaves of white bread, 4 rolls, 2 pumpkin loaves, freezer meatballs, and freezer cookies. If I had bought all of these things ready-made, it would have cost a lot more. So for me to keep to my pretty tight £50 to £70 a week food budget, I really find that putting in the time over the weekend helps me to stay on track with that, and it also helps save time on weeknights and things as well. Just a few hours over the weekends, and I've got snacks, treats, meals all ready for the week, which really helps reduce stress and last minute spending. So that's it for this week's batch cook. With bread, rolls, cookies, cakes, and meatballs all ready to go, it really helps my week go so much smoother. I try and put most of my recipes up on Substack, so head over there if you'd like to give them a try, and you can sign up for my free newsletter as well. I send out regular newsletters with the recipes that I use. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what your favourite thing to batch cook is. I'd love to hear your ideas. Thanks for watching and happy baking.